Okay, I think we better start our Shotsuki Hoyo service, so come on up if you're downstairs. Okay. Namandab, 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 namandab. Okay, let's begin our Shotsuki Hoyo monthly memorial service and adult Dharma service. And I would like to begin by reading the names of those who've passed away in the month of February. Hiroji Aochi, Shiro Aochi, Arata Akahoshi, Nobuta Akahoshi, Misai Cronin, Fusa Doi, Kiku Fuji, Arata Fujikawa, Masako Fujikawa, Kuni Fujimoto, Yoshiko Fujishima, Junko Jun Fujita, Fudekichi Fukuda, Itaro Harada, Seki Harada, Toshiyuki Jack Harada, Masatoshi Hashimoto, Yoshiko Hashimoto, Akino Hemmi, Satoru Hirai, Fumiko Hiramatsu, Mary Hiramoto, Koyoshi Idehara, Hatsu Igaki, Hisashi Ikeda, Charles Ishizu, Harvey Clay Johnson, Suejiro Kanada, George Kanagaki, Naoichi Kaneshige, Keijiro Kataoka, Masuko Kataoka, Sakai Kataoka, Wes Kawabata, Tad Kawamura, Shuzo Kawaoka, Jin Kido, Rikizo Kido, Sagao Kido, Toshiharu Kimura, Jinpachi Kitagaki, Mieko Kitagaki, Kimi Michelle Clevin, Yutaka Kobori, Jane Koizumi, Thomas Koizumi, Kotaro Komoda, Taka Kono, Tstai Lachika, Kashichi Matsui, Nobuko Matsui, Saburo Matsui, Shigeru Matsumoto, Toku Matsutani, Lin Mifune, Jisaku Minamoto, Tokyo Minamoto, Yukiko Mitsueda, Hatsu Miyamoto, Fujitaro Miyauchi, Shigeko Mizuki, Sam Mizusaki, Sakai Mori, Yukio Mori, Hisa Murakawa, James Murashima, Tran Gak Mai, Shizue Nakai, Fred Nakamura, Kei Nakamura, Masayoshi Nakamura, Ruri Nakamura, Shozo Nakamura, Toki Nakamura, Tei Nakao, Harry Nakaya, Tase Nakayama, Judy Narasaki, Hisa Natsuhara, Jimpachi Nishimura, Shosuke Nobori, Yae Nobori, Hisae Noda, Amy Noma, Hatsuko Nomura, James Susumu Nomura, Nadine Ohara, Mitsuo Okashima, Fumiko Okawachi, Kazuichi Oseto, Edith Oto, Makoto Otsuka, Jane Sudlander Phillips, Nihachiro Sakaki, Faith Sasaki, Toyohiko Sata, Mitsu Shigaya, Mio Shigemoto, Yoshiharu Shimada, Taizan Shimizu, Hatsumi Shohara, Keiko Soda, George Soga, Frank Takahashi, Hina Takahashi, Tsuruko Takahashi, Raymond Tamori, Yana Tanaka, Tani Family, Jitsuo Tani, Itsuzo Taniguchi, Mitsugi Taniguchi, Edward Tanita, Matsu Terada, Tora Toji, Sakitaro Toyofuku, Same Toyofuku, George Tsuboi, Shizu Tsuboi, Tamotsu Tsuchida, Teruki Tsuchida, Hikotaro Tsuda, A. Tsujimoto, Fumiya Umemoto, Sachiko Umemoto, Mark Umetani, Kenji Urushibata, Ura Urushibata, Kazuhiko Ueno, Hana Wada, Joe Wakayama, Nobuo Watanabe, Harold Wang, Marie Wang, Kajiko Yamasaki, Kimi Yamashita, Kaheiji Yokomizo, Eiichi Yoshida, Kamehisa Yoshida, Kino Yoshida, Ruby Yoshida, Hikoichi Yoshioka, Kiichi Yoshioka, Kisaku Yoshioka, Nao Yoshioka, Don Jiro Yoshisato, Kimie Yoshiura, Craig Matthew Young, Cho Saburo Yuto. Okay, next we will have Sutra chanting, and today we'll chant Juseige, which is on page 23 in the small book, and page 93 in the big purple book. 23 small, 93 big. Namanda, 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 namanda. Gagon chosegan Hishimu Jodo Shigan Fumanzok Seifu Joshogak Gao Munyoko Fui Dai Seshu Fusai Shobingu Seifu Joshogak Gashi Jobutsudo Myosho Chojippo Kukyo Mishomon Seifu Joshogak Ryokujin Shonen Joe Shubongyo Shigumu Jodo Isho Tenin Shin Jinniki and Daiko
shomu saido shoujo sankumyo kosai shuyakunan kai ichi egen meshi konmo am hei soku sho akudo tsudatsu zen shumon koso jo manzok iyoro jippo nichigatsu shujuki tenko onpugen ishukai hozo koseku dokuho jodai shuchu seppo shishiku kuyo isai butsu gusoku shutoku hon ganne shitsujo man tokui sangai o nyobutsu mugechi tsudatsu mi fusho gangaku erik toshi sai shoson shiganya koka daisen okando koku shotenin to chinmyo ke Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, 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 Namanda. Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to now deliver the Dharma message. So I was looking in my notes. Yesterday, I was mentioned we had our study class yesterday, and we looked at Barbie and Buddhism. And then I was looking in my notes for last month's Shotsuki was January Shotsuki, and I talked about Barbie. And that's actually what inspired us to do the Barbie study class. I'm not going to talk about Barbie today. I'd like to talk about Ken. if that's okay, Barbie. And so the reason I want to start off with that is because it's interesting how the Ken character, the problem with the Kens in Barbie land is that they're only happy when they're acknowledged by a Barbie. Right? Barbie's the main thing in Barbie land, and the Kens are just kind of extra. Right? It's not about Ken, it's all about Barbie. So the Barbies are the Kens are only happy when they're acknowledged by a Barbie. So it's interesting. It's one of the dynamics that kind of plays through the film with Ken, and that he always feels separate, right? There's a song, I'm just Ken, right? And that it's never about Ken. It's always Barbie and Ken. Barbie's the main thing. Ken's kind of the secondary thing, right? And so this idea of, and I think maybe we can think of codependent relationships, times when we have my worth. I only feel that my worth is because of someone else. Right? So like in relationships, and I can't be happy until I'm in a relationship, and then I'll be happy, right? And so this kind of idea where, and Ken really needs to find out he's okay, he's just Ken, right? That it's okay to be Ken. It's Barbie and it's Ken, right? That it's not all about Barbie, that Ken can be himself, right? That Ken can have his own identity. So one thing that interests me there is it's an interesting take on interconnectedness. It's kind of a negative flip side of interconnectedness. So that's kind of what I really want to talk about today, is this idea of interconnectedness or interdependence. Right? This is an important, fundamental Buddhist concept. Right? Buddhism says nothing exists in and of itself. Things only exist in relation to other things. So often we think that things exist, they really exist, and that's part of what causes us suffering, because it's a mistaken idea. And so the way I usually talk about this is, I think part of the Barbie movie actually is the question, who am I? For both the characters, Barbie and Ken. And that's a fundamental Buddhist question. Who am I? Right? And what does that mean? And there are different answers that Buddhism gives. The most extreme answer is there is no I. There's no self. Muga. Anatman. Right? This really kind of almost shocking idea of Buddhism. Right? And it seems to it denies any selfhood. It seems to. Right? This idea of no self. There is no self. But actually, I think what it's pointing to is this idea of interconnectedness. There's no me without you. And if I get asked the question, who am I? Or if I ask myself the question, who am I? Right? And maybe you can think about that yourself. If you're asked, who are you? Or ask yourself, who am I? Right? What's the answer? I think an American way to answer is, I'm me. And that's all that matters. Because I'm awesome, right? It's all about me, me, right? We can't even speak English without saying I, me. Right? I can't say gonna watch the game tonight or today. No, I have to say I'm gonna watch the game, or maybe we're gonna watch the game. Right? I can't speak without saying I in English. But Buddhism says, that's not all there is. It's not just me as some separate individual existing separately. Instead, I exist because of others, and who I am depends on others. It was kind of neat. We did 2 memorial services yesterday. One was a 7th year, right? And then one was a 1st year and 50th year. We combined. It was grandma and dad. And so we were able to do this kind of neat combined memorial services with 2 generations. Right? I do plenty of 1st year, 3rd year, 7th year. These are these special memorial services that we do in Buddhism. Right? I mean, and this is a memorial service too. right? The Shotsuki, so calling out the names of everyone who's passed away in February. But if you look at the list in the Bushin, the list that I'm looking at as I'm reading it, every now and again, 25th year, 17th year, first year, right? That when I'm reading out these names of the Shotsuki list, it's naming out people from 50 years ago and more, or last year even, right? Last year, February. But when we do the special memorials, that's an opportunity for just the family to get together and to do a special memorial service. So 7th year was really nice, but we had 3 generations for that one, and 4 if we include who was being honored, right? So it's kind of neat to have the person up here who was a mother, a grandmother, but after she passed, she became a great-grandmother. And I got to see these grandkids out here, right? So it was really neat to have these young kids, but then realize, wow, when she died, she wasn't a great-grandmother yet. Right? But when these kids are born, she becomes a great-grandmother. And we can think about her that way, right? We don't have to, no, sorry, it ended at a certain generation. Nope, right? That these relationships keep going, right? Even after someone has passed. So the 1st year and 50th year one was cool too, because you had mother and son in that one. But then we had another generation in the room, right? And so we had at least 3 generations, right? In the room, right? In the Gejin for those surviving, and in the Naijin for those who've passed. But it's kind of interesting to think, okay, so that in the Naijin, it's mother and son, but she's referred to as grandma, right? She's grandma because she was a grandmother, right? But she's a mother to her son, grandmother to her grandchildren, right? And the other one, grandmother while she was still alive, and then becoming a great-grandmother after she passed. I think that's really cool, right? And really neat. I'm still a son, even though my parents have passed, right? They're still my parents. And these relationships are interesting. Most of the time, if you go online and look up interconnectedness, look up family about Buddhism, just on Google or something, I don't think any of this will come up. Because a lot of times, Buddhism, other schools of Buddhism, it's more about this kind of solitary quest for enlightenment. Right? It's more about sitting in meditation, right? How I'm going to become enlightened, right? I'm sitting here meditating. But our kind of Buddhism is beyond, it's not just about oneself, although it's really important, like I was saying in the first service about self-reflection. But one of the things we can reflect on in our school of Buddhism is our relationships, right? And that these relationships, and not only family relationships, right? Some of the best relationships are friend relationships, right? That aren't necessarily connected by blood or by family, but can be so important, right, in our lives. So this service, to me, that's one of the most important aspects of our Shotsuki services, is to think, if you're here for Shotsuki, for this monthly memorial, right, to think about these people, your family members whose name I read, right? And think about them, but also think about your relationship. Normally, I think we only kind of think about people, right? These kind of individual people. But one thing that I started doing again a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we had another memorial service, and it was to think about, because we don't have pictures in the Naijin, but if there was a family member with the picture up here, and then each person to imagine a beam of light coming out of your heart, going to the Naijin. So maybe you can think about that with Buddha if you want, right? That here you are, and there's a beam of light coming up here into the Naijin. Or you know what, you can do it with me. Okay, I'll be up here, you can pretend, well you don't have to pretend, here I am, hi, right? And there's a beam of light from each of your hearts coming to me, to my heart. Right? And so in this case, almost all the lights will be the same color, because it would be by relationship, right? So if, like with yesterday with the 7th year with the great-grandmother, let's say, a blue light for the great-grandmother relationship, a yellow light for the grandmother relationship, an orange light for the mother relationship. Right? So depending on the relationship, the light's color would be different. The cool thing, though, is it goes the other way. Right? So for the mother relationship, the children make them a mother, but the mother makes them a son or a child. Right? And the same with the grandchildren, same with the great-grandchildren. Right? That who I am depends on others. So if your beam of light is coming to me, I think 98% are all, what color should we make it? Purple. So it's all these, because that's one of my favorite colors, all these purple lights coming to me because I'm the minister, you're the temple member, right? Or you're the Sangha member, right? And so for most of you, but there's maybe, what color should we make it? Green for the spouse relationship, because my spouse is out there, right? My wife. And so our relationship, but is it green? Or actually, it's the one direction, right? I'm a husband, they're a wife. Oh, for another one, what color should we make this one? Let's make it red for fellow musicians, right? A bass player for the koto player for the bass player. That allows me to be a bass player. I'm not a bass player right now, though, right? Right now, it's the, what color was it? Purple, right? Right now, it's purple actually from everybody pretty much, right? Because I'm Reverend Harry doing Shotsuki, right? So in this relationship, that's what it is. It could change later if what color was ours? Red, right? It'll be red with Steve, but it's going to be red for all of us because he's the musician, right? Playing the music as we sing, right? So that Steve is sitting there now, just sitting as here for Shotsuki, right? But also here's the organist. So he's two things. He's the same as most of you as a Shotsuki attendee, but he also becomes an organist. So interesting how these relationships, and then we could do, oh boy, if we did the relationships out there, right, then it's going to be all different colors, right? Because between each one of you, you're going to have certain colors, but then you're not related to everyone in the room, so it's going to be other colors and relationships, right? So this kind of web of relationships, I think, is a positive way to think about this connection. Like I said earlier, if it gets out of balance and I start, like Ken, I start defining myself based on someone else, I start worrying about what someone else thinks about me, trying to be something I'm not, not even sure what I want to be, but not sure who I am, right? Then it's out of balance. And so that was one of the great things that I realized about the Barbie movie yesterday, is it's a quest kind of trying to answer this question, who am I? So Barbie's trying to figure it out. But some people have noticed the movie seems almost like it's more about Ken than about Barbie, right? Even though it's called Barbie, right? A lot of it kind of centers on Ken, right? So it's also Ken's quest. But his doesn't really begin till near the end of the movie. It's really interesting how this, and that, so the question was, we called it Barbie and Buddhism, ? Exclamation point. What? Really? Isn't it just about a doll? But actually, there's all this Buddhist stuff in there. Right? And I think that this question, who am I, is a part of our journey as Buddhists. But that this journey isn't a journey we take alone. And maybe that's the significance of the Sangha, right? We take refuge in the Buddha, the teacher. We take refuge in the Dharma, the teachings and the truth. And we take refuge in the Sangha, right? This group of Buddhists, fellow Buddhists, that we can walk this path together. Shinran Shonin actually uses the term ondobo, ondogyo, which we translate into English. Maybe, I don't know how great a translation it is, but it works. Fellow travelers. And I mentioned before how I really shouldn't be up here. I should be down on the same level with all of you because we're all fellow travelers. Right? I'm ahead of you. I'm closer to Buddha. I'm further along in the path. That's not what it's about, right? That for all of us walking this path together, and we can think about our loved ones if you're here for the Shotsuki. You heard their name. Did you think of anything? Right? Did something come to mind? And think about them throughout the day, even throughout the month. I'm sure you do anyway, right? But this is actually a special opportunity to honor them, to remember them, and to bring them to mind. So I want to thank you very much for joining us for our February Shotsuki Hoyo monthly memorial service. Should we sing Ondok-san 2? And this is a song expressing gratitude and this responding to the benevolence and the compassion that we receive. And it's on page 220 in the big purple book. '76 in the small one, if you want to do that. Nyorai dai no ondoku wa miyoko ni shite mo hozu beshi Shishu chishiki no ondoku mo hone o kudakite mo shasu beshi. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Do you want to do any announcements? Or I think we're good. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for our February Shotsuki monthly memorial and adult Dharma service. You can come up in Oshoko if you hadn't had a chance already, and we can hang out downstairs a little bit if you have a chance. So thank you. And I know a lot of you want to run off for the game, so. Namanda.